Okay, Atlanta Falcons draft review. Could be a quick one because we only have 5 picks to talk about, despite the fact that they also traded next year's first round selection. So, only 5 picks to talk about. Some really fascinating picks here. First, let me just let you know what you are looking at. So, next to me is the player. The number all the way to the left is when they were picked. Then the player's name, the position, and then the final number is where they were projected to go according to the consensus big board. It's always a nice tool to kind of see how, again, I can give my opinion, you can give your opinion, but these are all of our opinions combined together, which I think makes for an interesting thing to look at. So, yeah. First off, Jalon Walker, who, a lot of times for a team, the biggest thing about how the draft goes is the first round pick. I know we all like to say, hey, later on is where Super Bowls are won, and sometimes that is true, but also a lot of times you win Super Bowls by nailing your first round pick, right? These are important pieces, and for Jalon Walker, he is certainly a controversial prospect, let's say that. When I was doing my evaluation of him, I was quite frankly blown away by some of the athletic plays that this guy is capable of. You see, I have his position listed as edge and linebacker. That means off-ball linebacker because he essentially did both. He played, a lot of off-ball linebacker, would also come in for specific, pass rush and even run defense snaps in that situation. And to be honest, because of that, his numbers just aren't going to be otherworldly. His, analytics and things like that are not going to be great. But also, he never really got a chance to develop at one specific position. Where do you want to play him? I'll be honest, I did not love his off-ball linebacker tape. To me, he is an edge rusher. I think that's what they're going to use him as. I think they need an edge rusher, and that's just how I view him. There were just too many mistakes. I actually made a whole film study prior to the draft on why I wasn't crazy about his off-ball linebacker stuff. But ultimately, he is just a bit of a project. He might not be someone who's great day one, but hopefully he could be great year 3, right? That's kind of what you're looking for there. The other draft pick they spent was they used next year's first round pick to trade with the Rams to get the Rams' first round pick of this year and select James Pierce Jr. And I think a lot of people are seeing next year's first round pick and just saying oh my God, you traded a future first round pick just to move up. That's crazy value, but that's not exactly what happened. Here's the way that I view it. Essentially, the Falcons and the Rams said, we're just trading first round picks. And yes, the Rams is a bit of a later first round pick. We'll see if the Falcons end up picking that late. It's been a bit since they have picked that late. Let's just be honest. So I believe it's been since they were in the Super Bowl. Because I think when they made the playoffs the year after, they weren't quite 26. So it's been a while since they've had to pick that late. But ultimately, I think the teams kind of viewed that as close to fair value, maybe with a slight edge to the Falcons pick being a little higher, but also it's a year down the road. And then also the Rams moved from the 3rd round to the 2nd round because there was a 3rd round pick involved there. That's essentially what the trade was. Now, yes, that is more value, but usually that's the way it works. Usually it costs value if you want to have more draft picks this year as opposed to the future year. Jackson, that's weird. Why does it cost more? Shouldn't it cost the same? Isn't next year's draft class just as good as this year's draft class? In fact, it might actually be better given this year's draft class. Well, yes, in theory, they should be at least the same in value, but that's not how it works because NFL GMs only have so long to be good or they get fired. So having your picks now is more important than having picks for the next guy next year, right? So that's why it's that way. The value isn't that big of a deal. So sorry I spent forever talking about that. I love the player. I think James Pierce Jr. is going to be awesome, and I'm fully on board with drafting this player. Apparently, people found him to be uncoachable and things like that, but this guy, if Walker's issue was that he's kind of a project, James Pierce is anything but. This is a complete player who should be a day one impact player, so you can kind of let Walker develop while you let Pierce just hopefully be good right away. I also really like Xavier Watts, the safety that they got, who they could use a safety next to Jesse Bates, so this could be potentially a really difficult team to throw on over the middle. I think that could be tough, and to help out with that, they also added Billy Bowman Jr., who is a safety out of Oklahoma. He is a player who, I say safety, seems like he also might end up being a slot corner. Seems like that could be what happens. The reality is for safety, if you're a 5'10", 200-pound player, player. That's not really a safety thing. He's also not the best tackler, so seems like you're probably just gonna move him into the slot and be that kind of slot corner slash safety hybrid, which is, I think, more where you'd want to have him. So that's probably what they're going to do with that. Again, trying to improve this defense. You see 4 picks on 2 positions, essentially, unless you consider Walker off-ball linebacker. The edge rusher was an issue last year. It just was. They did add Leonard Floyd, and I like Arnold Ebiketie, but he can't do it all alone, right? So adding a bunch of pieces there, and also helping out the secondary to hopefully make it easier for, you still have A.J. Terrell there. You do have Mike Hughes. So again, I'm interested in how exactly Bowman's going to fit in with this team, but like, you do have him. You have, D. Alford and Clark Phillips. So there is hope for that corner room. I think I would like one more outside corner I can really trust in the mix here, because D. Alford has his moments, but I guess we'll see exactly there. But certainly this could really improve the defense, which quite frankly was at times a bit of a mess last year. So I think that's why all of what they're doing here just makes sense to me. The last player to talk about is Jack Nelson. A guy whose analytics are pretty good for a guy who's getting drafted with pick 218. Another player that they are on the right side of the consensus big board. The only player where they didn't get on the right side of that was James Pierce Jr., who he was projected to go 32nd. They got him 26th, so it's not that big of a reach. And as a player, I think was underrated at 32nd on top of all of that. Jack Nelson, could be just a good potential pass blocking tackle is kind of what people feel like he can be. Again, I haven't done full evaluations on every prospect. So some of this is just what I'm reading up on prior to this video. But seems like a guy who, could be someone who just comes in, and I don't know if he's going to be a star. I don't know if he has, this incredible potential. But you know what? You're drafting a guy at pick 218. This is your last pick of your draft. It's the 6th round pick. And I think that the logic is, let's just get someone who, if we have an injury, because Jake Matthews and Caleb McGarry are a great tackle tandem. No issues there. And they both played over 1,000 snaps last year. But if one gets hurt, are we doing Storm Norton for a year? I don't know if we want to do that. Let's get Jack Nelson, who hopefully can just be competent. Be all right? You do something like that. Hey, who knows? Maybe you hit a Hail Mary here. But with pick 218, that's not what you're expecting. So ultimately, I think my biggest critique of the Falcons draft is just they didn't get enough picks. Now, one thing is they lost their 5th round pick. I believe that was with the Kirk Cousins tampering thing. So no 5th round pick. That's why there's only 5. They also did do, lost another one in a trade. So that's where you down to 5 here. Usually, I like teams to have a little bit more selections here, but ultimately no 5th and no 7th round pick. Still able to, I think, get some good players, potentially get some starters that can help them along the way. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons and their draft class. Let me know in the comments below. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.